Alright, so today we're going to talk about fractions. Don't worry, they're just numbers. 3 plus 4 is 7. You know that there are 3 parts and 4 parts. That makes 7 parts. We do the same thing with fractions, but we just count the basic parts. So I start with one where the parts are the same. I'm counting fifths. I say 2 fifths plus 1 fifth. And before I even start the math, I slow down and think of what the fractions mean and do an estimate every time. 2 fifths, something a little less than a half. You fill it in on the wagon wheel here, 2 parts out of 5. Over here I'm filling in 1 part out of 5, and that's less than a quarter because as the denominator gets bigger, the fraction is a smaller portion of the circle. You're dividing it up more. 2 fifths plus 1 fifth, well, you can draw the fifths and count them, and there's 2 parts and 1 part. The important thing to realize here is the answer is going to be less than 1. But it's definitely more than the common error of 3/10. 3/10 would not hardly be a quarter, or just over a quarter. So when I do the math now, I can say, hey, 2 plus 1 over 5. That's my operation. I'm counting fifths. 2 fifths and 1 fifth. But we know 2 plus 1 is equivalent to 3 fifths. Now, we got to start up at the top here. And I used to do this when I was boarding pizzas with the small kids. I'd do 2 cuts and say, yep, you got 1 part and I got 1 part. But you can't do it that way. You have to count equal portions. And here it's a quarter. And here we have 3/4. And the numerators do make the whole. Now, if we start with just a basic math problem, 2/3 plus 5/7. Again, we want to do addition this time. First thing I want to do is think about an estimate. I am picturing 2/3. It's something over a half plus 5/7. I'm thinking the wheel is almost completely full. I know this answer is 2/3 plus 1, 1.5-ish. It's going to be between 1 and 2. So it can't possibly be 7/10. That's less than 1. It has to be between 1 and 2 when we fill the circles. The reason we find a common denominator, and again, this is review for freshmen here, and sophomores, and whatever grade level we're at, is that we have to do equal parts. So I just have to subdivide. Well, 3 and 7, they go into 21. So I have to make equivalent fractions. 2/3 is the same as 14/21. And we get there by using a rule of algebra that we can just multiply top and bottom, and it does not change the value. It just changes the numbers and how they look. It's still 2/3. Over here we have to multiply by 3 and 3, and I get 15/21, again equivalent to 5/7. Now I'm counting 21st fractions. Well, I have 14 and 15, so I add 14 and 15, and that gives me 29/21. And again, I can break that down. You could either take 21 into 29, and that's a nice way to do it if you want to do it that way. Or often I think of it this way. 8 plus 21 is still 29. Well, 21st is simply 1. So I could write that as 1 and 8/21. The next thing would be to add more numbers. So here we have 10/11 minus 5/6 plus 1/3. So when I picture an estimate, again, in my head, I see 1 minus 1 plus 1/3. So I'm going to estimate this answer has to be about 1/3 of a circle when I'm done. And now I'm going to look at the denominators. And I'm going to call it the least common denominator. I got 11, 6, and 3. Now I could list them and start running them out. And that would take some time. Or I could think of the primes. 3 is 3, 6 is 2 and 3, and 11 is just 11. So I'm going to need a 2, a 3, and 11. So the least common denominator this time is 66. So again, I need to convert these fractions into equivalent fractions. Well, I need a 6 here. 66 is equivalent to 10/11. Here I need a 11, 66. And you notice I brought the sign in here, and I made it all addition. We're going to treat that that way as we go forward. And on the last one, I need a 22, which gives me 22/66. And again, now I'm counting 66. So I just do the operation. 60 plus a negative 55, 60 minus 55, plus 22. 60 minus 55 is 5. 5 plus 22 is 2766. 27 is divisible by 3. 2 plus 7 is 9. 66. 6 plus 6 is 12. That's divisible by 3. So I'm going to want to simplify this. And I divide the top and bottom by 3. And I get 9/22 as the answer. And again, common fraction work. We can also do this as an application problem, wrapping in some geometry. AC measures 10 1/4 feet. AB measures 4 3/7 feet. B is between A and C, and find the measurement of BC. Little m means measurement, or find BC sometimes it says. Step 1, always the same. Draw a picture and label. I draw AC and I put B in between. I know that from A to C is 10 1/4 feet, and I label it here with extension lines. I know AB is 4 3/7 feet. And I know I want to find BC in blue here. I can tell immediately this plus blue has to be this. I can see it in the picture using the lines. So if I call this 10, and I call this 4, well, 4 plus blank equals 10. I can quickly come up that the estimate should be about 6 feet, probably a little bit under. So, 10 1/4 minus 4 3/7 is our operation on this line segment. If I do it in improper form, and this is the way I like to handle smaller numbers like this, I can treat 10 1/4 as 10 plus 1/4, 4 3/7 is 4 plus 3/7. Write 10 in the same denominator, 44 is equivalent to 10, and I get, if I add those, I get 41/4. And again, a lot of times you guys go 10 times 4 plus 1, 41/4. Sure, that works. This is the steps that we usually just skip. 4 times 7 is 28 plus 3, 31/7. Again, I'm counting now not equal portions, so I have to make them equal. 4 and 7 go into 28, so I write equivalent fractions, where I multiplied this by 7, and I multiplied this fraction by 4. 287 over 28, and 124 over 28. Take 287 minus 124. A lot of times you might have to write this on the side to get that answer of 163. The other way to do this is leave them as mixed numbers. 10 1/4 minus 4 3/7, and again, you have to get a common denominator of 28. So I write 1/4 is equivalent to 7/28. And again, multiplying top and bottom, one of our common rules. And on the other fraction by 4 to get 12/28. But I can't take 12 from 7. So over here in the box, I take 10 and 7/28, and I break the 10 down into 7/28 as a sum. And I think of that as 9 plus 1 and 7/28. And again, the 1 becomes 28/28. And again, since they're all 28s in this case, 28 plus 7, 35/28. Again, a lot of times we borrow like this, but we have to realize the steps there. We take 9 and 35/28 minus 4 and 12/28. And again, 9 minus 4 is one operation. 35 minus 12 is the other, out of 28. And I get 5 and 23/28. If you check, and this is feet, these are equivalent, these are the same value. So both methods work. Fractions take time. Remember, it's equivalent. Always estimate, have an idea of where the answer should be.